Hello and welcome. I want to talk about the energies that we are experiencing, the astrological aspects of it through the eclipse cycle that we're in, the Aries Libra axis of the moon. And I want to talk about some of these things. I'm going to try to kind of stay as general as I can. We're not taught these things in life, basically. We are actually taught the opposite. We're programmed and conditioned to believe and think the opposite as how energy flows and cycles go, as well as our true nature, at least especially here in the Western cultures. And we have a lot of energy that is culminating for great change. I know that there's a lot of hype out there right now about this eclipse. But I will tell you that most of this great change that we are going to experience is going to be internal. Yes, there will be external change as well, but only to reflect what's going on internally. So I want to start off with talking about Chiron, which is an asteroid that is very heavily influencing our healing journey from our deep core wounds from childhood. And these core wounds can tend to be hidden from us because they stem from such a young age that we're not always 100% sure why we have certain patterns, why we have certain fears. And that's another thing that we are heavily experiencing right now is fear and facing our fears, which if you don't understand why you have certain fears, it makes it a little bit more challenging to actually go into and face the fear. Chiron has there are three manifestations of Chiron that we all play. These are roles, which would be victim, perpetrator, and then healer. Most of us will oscillate in and out from early ages on until we get to breakthrough periods of healing between victim and perpetrator, consciously or unconsciously, although that's one of the reasons why there is guilt and shame that is also deeply embedded within us, even if you're not 100% conscious of it. But these are roles that we play, all of us, and we rotate between mostly victim and perpetrator. And it tends to go in a 7-year cycle, but not necessarily. Everybody's journey is a little unique to them. We get an opportunity to break out of this, especially during eclipses. Eclipses are big, huge game changers and transformers for us all. To break out of this, instead of focusing on the projections that are coming from others, focus on the wound that is actually being triggered by those projections. And this is a hard one to do. We usually want to be defensive, place blame on the others. That is sort of our pattern here, human pattern. Yet we want to break free from these roles. We want to move into the healer. And each and every one of us individually, we're the only ones that can heal our Chiron wounds ourselves. We become our own healer. And it's very old. These wounds are very old. But to master this self-mastery, we must detach from acting reactively or defensively and instead really tap into our heart and tap into our compassion and empathy enough to become our healer. Enough fighting, enough projecting, enough blaming, enough shaming. this is self-mastery. This is self-mastery to really see the bigger picture and to release our identification with these deep core wounds. Because each and every one of us have gone through that aspect of identifying with the victimization. You don't know what I've been through type of thing, and wearing it as almost like a badge of honor. This is not about this Chiron aspect, which is an exact conjunction to this eclipse, the new moon eclipse. So it's a big player in this energy. It's not about imperfections. It's not about the flaws that we see and the imperfections in ourselves or others. It's not about curses. It's not about bad karma. This is how we heal our wounds, through the relationship to the other. Aries is about I, me, my, mine. Libra is me and you, us and them. Chiron is the key. Its glyph actually looks like a key. The wound is the key to unlocking our hidden pain. The cure for the pain is to go into the pain. It's within the pain itself. We humans don't like to go into this deep pain, but instead we will carry it with us and manifest and react and project from this pain. Chiron identifies the wounds that we ourselves, and only we ourselves, can heal. So it's important to work on releasing the blame, releasing the shame. This energy is all about tragedy and wisdom. It's about pain and enlightenment. We're dealing with core childhood wounds. These are wounds I'm going to give some examples of that might bring something up for you. Either becoming the parents to our parents, parenting our parents at a young age, or maybe you felt controlled, maybe you felt left out within your family dynamic, dysfunction, abandoned, or maybe it's the wound of perfectionism that's coming up for you, or maybe we're dealing with being ignored, rejected, or disrespected, or childhood and family dysfunction altogether. Fear of failure, fear of success, isolation, fear of isolation, being bullied. We're dealing with some kind of wound, and we're constantly, some kind of wound that we've been constantly through our lifetime running from, running away from, or identifying with. As we are really conditioned and programmed and taught to take care of our issues and fix them right away, because we cannot have this disruption in society type of thing. Yet, no matter how much psychotherapy you go through, until you actually go into the pain of your core wounds, they will still be there. They will still reside in you. And it's not that we're getting rid of these wounds, but we are transmuting, meaning we are changing the energy of the wound from being victimized by it to it becoming our medicine for healing, not only ourselves, but others, through compassion and empathy. The Aries energy, and there's a lot of Aries energy going on right now, which is the very first sign of the zodiac. It is the start. It is the new. It is the adventurer. It is also about me, I, mine. So Chiron in Aries. Chiron is in Aries. Excuse me. We may think that we are special when it comes to our wounds, like I was talking about. You have no idea what I've been through. I deserve special treatment, special attention. And this is the ego. This is our ego, the victimized ego that's saying this to yourself. This way of feeling special and identified with the wound is our greatest obstacle. Either that or also running and hiding, numbing, pretending it's not there anymore. I grew out of it. That's the past. That's the obstacle and the challenge in actually healing these core wounds. It prevents us from healing. So we must really let go of this allure, this glamorous allure of victimhood, and really accept and love all of our parts, wounds and all. Know that nobody is special here. The universe looks at us. We are all the same. It's going to be a hard pill for many to swallow. This eclipse in Aries is exactly conjunct Chiron. And it's giving us all an opportunity to work through our pain, understand ourselves at a deeper level, and find a way to truly transmute our pain instead of blaming others, instead of fighting with others, instead we deal with the pain of the wounds that are triggered, instead of competing with others, instead of dealing with jealousy, envy, anger, putting ourselves above or below others. Deal with ourselves and not with the mirror. That's what we're learning how to do. Everything that we don't like about the other is truly our key to taking that inward and healing our wounds. Because if you're getting a certain energy, certain sensation, or certain feeling about someone else, there is an aspect of you, and it may not be something that's even active now, but it has in the past, that you must see within yourself. When we are able to see ourselves in everyone to some degree, that starts the healing journey in a big way. This is enlightenment. This is big. This is really big. But we've got a lot of Pisces energy. Pisces is the ruler of the 12th house. And the ruler of this eclipse, which is Mars, is in Pisces. And the 12th house is our subconscious and our subconscious fears. It is also very spiritual. It is that which we cannot see, but we can feel and sense. Mars in Pisces. Mars is about the embodiment, right? This can be really tricky to embody because we are dealing with not only the physical, the visible, but also the non-physical, the invisible, the non-physical, the rational and the irrational, the logical and the illogical. We're facing and processing big time subconscious fears, long forgotten traumas, patterns, ancestral stories, long forgotten memories, dreams, desires. We strongly are feeling these eclipse energies, and eclipse energies we typically will feel about 4 to 6 weeks prior and 4 to 6 weeks after. So that's our big window of really diving deep in and going with the flow, having the experiences when a deep emotion is triggered, instead of lashing out, taking it inward. Because that wound that was subconscious, that was hidden, is now exposed. And if you can really go with that, you will learn a lot about yourself and your patterns. The impact is strong for up to 6 months to a year after the eclipse. And that's really triggering a new chapter, a new cycle for up to 19 years. So the last time that we had, and we have eclipses every year, the last time we had the eclipse with the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, was April 2004. My light's about to go out. April 2004, April 2005, and March 2006. These years are also formed into cycles. Eclipses run on a cyclic pattern. And these cycles are deeply, closely connected to this time that we're in right now. So there are similar lessons that we may be skipped over in those years, or just didn't understand the lesson, or didn't learn, didn't know, didn't grow from whatever we were being shown, whatever we were experiencing in those years, 2004, 2005, and 2006. So they're coming back to give us another chance to make adjustments, to make great changes for ourselves, to learn and to grow from. But like I said, eclipses are big game changers for us. They are beginnings and endings. They bring transformation through karmic releases. As you saw in some of my videos, in the last day or two, I'm sharing my process with some of my experiences. And instead of being a victim to these experiences that triggered deep fear in me, I sit with that. I take it inward. I ask for guidance as well. And I'm shown a lot of where it comes from, these deep fears. And after I do all of that, the actual events that triggered these deep fears, the energy changes and shifts, and it shows me the truth of what that experience was. So it's hard to put into words. It's an experience that you must actually be fully conscious and aware and experience to understand fully. So some of you will understand and some of you will not. But if you just surrender and really flow with whatever is arising or coming back to you, we'll get to that in a minute, because Mercury retrograde is all about the past coming back. So we're having people come back, memories come back, events come back, feelings come back, all that stuff. I have notes here, so bear with me. Aries, like I said, very first zodiac sign of the natural zodiac wheel. Beginnings, new moons, new beginnings. So we have new chapters, we have a new life, we have new awareness of self. That is, we're going to be getting out of all of this. It's actually a really beautiful experience to be had. There's nothing to fear. We are finishing unfinished business. We'll go to Mercury retrograde in Aries. Again, more Mars energy, more Aries energy. This speaks of reconciliations, correcting and making things right, righting our wrongs. When Mercury is in retrograde, and there's no coincidence that Mercury is in retrograde in Aries during this eclipse cycle, we must slow down when Mercury is in retrograde, especially in the Aries energy. In the Aries energy, we start to recognize what we want and the changes that we want, and we want it now. We become impatient. So we have to go about things slowly so that we can experience what it is that we're meant, so we can learn the lessons, so we can get the growth, so we can understand why things unfold the way they do, why we have the experiences that we have, why we get a chance to re-experience things that we may have thought like, oh, I thought this is over. I've been there, I've done that. But there's something we may have missed. And I'm not saying go back into old relationships, but maybe there's some kind of, maybe there's something that this person has to offer you that may help put a piece of the puzzle together, or you for them. Just a reconciliation all along, so that we can release the weight of unforgiveness. Because when we don't forgive another, not only do we hold a big black dense energy above our head, but we also block the other person with that energy from their healing. So to release the resentment, the anger, and this is going to be a challenge for many people, but for those of you who are ready to release yourself from the density, the forgiveness aspect is really important. So there's an opportunity to have reconciliations and forgiveness here. I'm not saying that we have to, but there's an opportunity. So we're going back over, we're revisiting things that we skipped over, we thought that we were done, Apparently they're not. This is a time that we can have a redo or do things right, the right way without skipping over important details. If we had missed opportunities in the past, we get a second chance to try again as well. So know that this is actually a beautiful energy. Mercury retrograde, things and people from the past come back. Like I said, they come back in the physical. They may text you or come knocking on your door. Hey, how are you? Memories of people come back from the past. Even those who are deceased, they come to visit us in our memories and our dreams. There's a lot of things from the past that are coming back. I say welcome it with the understanding that I'm going to learn from this, where maybe I had rushed too fast away from a situation because it was painful. If it's coming back around, there's a gift in there for you. There's a piece of your puzzle that you might need for your healing. We have Mars and Saturn in a conjunction during this eclipse as well, and they are both in Pisces. This can be really tough energy. Anytime Mars and Saturn work together, it is really tricky and not easy energy to work together. We're talking about tough challenges. We're talking about ego and restrictions. Yeah, it can be just what Mars and Saturn truly are asking us is to take responsibility for ourselves, take responsibility for our actions, our part in things, our words. So to take accountability and take responsibility. That's really, truly what this energy, the Mars and Saturn aspect, are asking. And in Pisces, again, we're talking very spiritual energy, but also opening up the floodgates of the subconscious mind, which these are things that have laid dormant and hidden from us for a long time that are starting to open up and show themselves to us about ourselves. So taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions and not burying our head in the sand and disappearing into the Pisces escapism, which is very strong. So that could be one of your patterns, is to like, oh no, I'm not going to feel this. I'm going to escape into whatever kind of thing that will distract me completely from even acknowledging this painful situation, whether it's numbing yourself out with substances or just scrolling through social media, going on Netflix, playing video games, whatever it is that you do to escape from something that is calling for your attention, for your healing, It's uncomfortable. So don't try to escape or push off uncomfortable energies, and don't try to push them off onto others. That's their problem. That has nothing to do with me. That's their stuff. Well, if you're getting triggered by it, if it's bringing a certain something up in you, there's something in you that has to do with that. There's something in it for you. It could be just a very small part, but that acknowledgement, that's your wisdom, that's your healing. We are all evolving and maturing and growing through these cycles. Hopefully. Yeah, if it makes you uncomfortable, then it certainly does have something to do with you. So that's shadow. That's definitely something you want to take accountability for. These are issues that are coming up from the past. Mercury is the messenger and is really reaching out to everyone with their specific messages through many different ways. So you're getting messages, mercurial messages in multiple ways. Make sure that you pay attention to how that's coming through for you and how you're having reactions. And I'm going to give you just a couple examples of things that come up for me in my senses when this energy is flowing through the collective. These are Chiron wounds that I just took a little, some notes as to what came up for me to acknowledge and heal from my childhood. First one I wrote, and the big ones I've already worked through. these are a little bit smaller, but some of you will resonate because I was a 70s kid. Physical body appearance. In my younger years, fashion magazines were a big thing with the models. I don't know, that might still be a thing with the supermodels and all of that. And I have a big family. I have a lot of relatives that, you know, when you're young, you're impressionable. You think this is like the epitome of what girls and women strive to look like, you know. So that actually has been a lot of damage has been done in our culture from this type of infiltration, we'll call it. It's caused a lot of, I personally didn't have any eating disorders. I could have easily slipped into having eating disorders because it did affect me in a certain kind of way. And still does from time to time, which is interesting because I know I had kind of evolved away from that, but I still find that being a sensitive subject for myself. So any of you that, and this not just for females, but males, men too. We strive to compare ourselves or compete or whatever is the perfect body. It really does some damage in the internal psyche. Also all relationships, but especially the intimate and romantic ones that I've had, which haven't been a whole lot, but I have this fear. Abandonment came to my mind, and abuse. Mostly from my experiences, it's usually the other person that abandons me to go into their own abuse. Usually substance abuse has been my experience, and you kind of you lose them. I had that experience with my father, so of course I attracted men into my world, into my life that had the same energy. We do that until we grow out of it and break out of that. Another Chiron wound of mine that I've been acknowledging and healing is how I speak my truth, or even if I do speak my truth, because in my childhood, younger years, there was a fear of persecution. Again, the 70s, we would be, you know, spanked and mouth washed out with soap and all kinds of things, and that really does some traumatic damage to the inner psyche that we normalize, but it comes up as a pattern, it comes up as a block. So it's important to recognize these things, that it's important to speak your truth. And I recognized this I had an opportunity a few weeks ago to do this, and I found myself freezing up and that fight or flight or freeze. And I was like, that's interesting. Internally, I'm talking to myself, but I'm in the situation, like just frozen, stunned. So still working through that, because there's a fear of persecution wound there. Of course, there's also the safety and security fears, money, and, you know, people coming onto my property and things like that have been like coming up. This is ancestral as well. Again, back to the body, I had a remembrance. I forgot about this too. But I have younger nieces and nephews that are getting to this age group. When going through puberty, there was, for me, it was very traumatic to have the body start to change. we didn't have people talking to us about this stuff, really. It was like the kids would talk amongst themselves about it, but we didn't have, at least in my experience, there wasn't like a sex ed or understand your body or any of those things. So it was a very, like, what's happening to me, and I don't want to, you know, like, I just want to stay me kind of situation. I'm finding myself going through that again as I'm going through the menopausal cycle of my life, and my body's changing, and I'm like, no, it's got to stay the same. So these are things that I'm still working through and experiencing. It's very interesting, right? And the last thing I wrote down, because I went through memory lane last night in my childhood I allowed all the subconscious to come up. was the labels, the fashion labels. When, and this goes like young, I want to say 3rd and 4th grade, I really honed in and started to take notice of the people that had like Jordache jeans. I'm really dating myself, but this is true. The alligator shirts, like there's tags and labels. Docksiders, they had to have a little tag on the side. This was important. If you didn't have these labels in school, you weren't in that clique. You didn't matter. That's how it was perceived. That's how it was experienced for many of us. And, I became obsessed with this when I could not have these designer labels at the 3rd and 4th grade. I'm actually witnessing kids going through this now, and it's like, wow, I remember that. I remember how like traumatic it was too. Of course, I learned how to get creative in my younger years. I learned how to sew also. So we would go to Goodwill and I would find things that had these labels on that were used and stuff, and I would cut them out and I would sew them onto clothes that actually fit me. And I felt better. Isn't that stupid? But I mean, that's getting creative for you know, a 9-year-old or maybe even younger. But these are the things that our kids are still going through. And we need to break these cycles. We need to stop this stuff. Seriously. Here I'm on my soapbox. We need to. We don't need to, but my hope and my desire for humanity is to really move beyond this kind of stuff. So I think that's all I want to share. I just wanted to put this video out there on the eclipse, on the current energies that we're experiencing. And so you have a better understanding of what may be you might be going through and releasing. Don't listen to the hype and the hoopla of the cataclysmic events and all of those other things. I know I've already said that before. There are big changes, big shifts happening, and I know that the world stage is starting to really look that way. We have all these different earthquakes, different bridges being hit. There is a lot of dramatics out there, but a lot of stuff is to distract us from this healing journey, which is so important. So try to put that focus on you as best as you can and really enjoy this ride. We have the opportunity to move into and embark into a new life experience, a new earth where we could truly help humanity and our home, Earth, energetically and spiritually and in many other ways, eventually physically. So anyway, that's all I have. My ear is turning off, so that's all I have for us right now. I am sending you out so much love. Take care. Bye.